Body Systems project, we are doing the human skeleton. It's by me, Ari, and Hartman. So, what are bones made out of? There's about three founding points as to what builds a bone. First, we have the periosteum, which is basically a thick coating covering the bones and is made out of connective tissue. It surrounds everywhere on the bones except for the joint areas. Periosteum mainly repairs and regrows your bones. Second, we have blood vessels. There's numerous amount of these, and they're scattered throughout all of your bones. These are very important to transport cells, waste, nutrients, and a source of stem cells. There's about 60,000 miles of blood vessels throughout your body alone. Lastly, there's bone marrow. These produce blood cells, which is crucial for nutrient transportation and immune response. Next, we have joints. In the human body, there's three types of joints. As presented by the photo, you can see the joints and some examples of where you'd find these on the bone diagram. The names of these joints, going from left to right, are fibrous, cartilaginous, and synovial joints. The fibrous joints are stable and will not move. They are held together by sutures. You can see them on the human skull, and these are actually joints and the sutures holding them together very tightly. These will not move at all. Next, we have cartilaginous joints, which are held together by cartilage and move slightly. An example of this joint in our body is the rib area. Lastly, we have the synovial joints, which are easily movable but limited to certain directions of movement. Some examples of this joint are the knee area and the elbow. Lastly, we have compact and spongy bones. These compact and spongy bone make up our layers of our bones. They provide necessary support for us and are very important to learn about. First, we have compact bone. This type of bone forms the outer layer of our bone. It's much firmer and harder than spongy bone. It's meant to withstand significant damage/force to it and stay stable. Spongy bone, on the other hand, is much softer and it makes about 20% of the human skeleton. It can shift in weight, and it's home to the bone marrow and the stem cells to differentiate into red blood cells and white cells.
Blasts are a cell that are responsible for helping bones heal and grow. They do this by releasing bone matrix, which is made up of calcium, collagen, and other proteins. The bone matrix will then solidify, forming new healthy bone. Parathyroid controls the cell. Osteoclasts use enzymes to break down old, fragile, and broken bone. They do this so osteoblasts can come in and put bone matrix in the missing areas. Parathyroid hormone controls osteoclasts and osteoblasts. Babies are born with more bones than adults, and this is because some of their bones are unfused. This results in the baby having around 300 bones and the full-grown adult having around 206. In order for the baby to fuse the bones, they go through a process called endochondral ossification, where cartilage is replaced with bone, and the osteoclast and osteoblasts work together. There are two different skeletal sections in the human body, the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton protects and supports the brain, spinal cord, heart, and lungs. The appendicular skeleton connects to the axial skeleton and contains your appendages like the hips, the legs, and the arms.
Actually has a lot of different functions we're going to be going over today. So its first major function is going to be pretty obvious. It's going to be support and protection. So the skull and the rib cage are both great examples of protective bones. They protect the brain and the lungs and heart respectively. Additionally, all the bones in your body support the rest of your body. It's the base building blocks of your body, and without them you wouldn't be able to do a lot of things. Like the second main function, which is again going to be pretty obvious, it's going to be movement. So take pretty much any bone in your body, it's going to be used to move that part of your body along with the muscles and tendons and ligaments and things like that. So like your arms, collarbones, legs, all of that, femur, all of that's going to be used to help move and support your body. So the other two functions are tied in with bone marrow, so I'm going to quickly go over those first. So the third main function is going to be storing fat and minerals, which happens in yellow bone marrow. Along with this, yellow bone marrow has the stem cells for fat, cartilage, and other bones. You get more yellow bone marrow as you age, which you'll see in a chart in the next slide, and it is typically at the center of the bone. It's not at the tips of the bone. That's where the red bone marrow is. So the red bone marrow is going to have the stem cells for bloods, both red blood cells and white blood cells. It is also going to be the location where B cells more mature. And in your infancy, you're going to only have red blood cells. However, as you age, You're gonna peak at about 25 years for your yellow bone marrow, where as you'll see in this diagram, mostly your limbs will have that yellow bone marrow, and your central skeleton is gonna have that red bone marrow. And the red bone marrow in the bone is gonna typically be at the tips here. So as you can see here,